Okay, so I'm recording our call so they can be transliterated.
Okay.
All right, so what we have is a international distribution system that's got to be able to take containers for any language, and it is a shopping system or shopping center, it's going to have a cart system in there where they can buy obviously single or multiple products of single products. I imagine that we're going to want a discounting system in there in case they want to set it up to where if they buy multiples, they can get a discount.
Yeah.
And then I also imagine that maybe some of these are going to be done by contract, and that was one of the questions. Is if I'm buying something that's $20,000, because I imagine these guys have some pretty big sales. I don't think that's going to be on a credit card. That's probably going to be an actual digital signature on a contract, and then either a check or an ACH. Would I be correct there?
Yeah, that is correct. Most of this stuff, particularly if in the case of the client who's doing this, there's a $375 million contract for the work, and then that will be broken up into separate POs during various construction phases. But all the lighting will be supplied by the same manufacturer and distributor.
Okay, so then I would imagine there'll be like a master purchase order that would actually have all of the purchases that has been done by that one particular company, but then broken up into deliverables, which would show separate purchase orders within that master of deliveries that were done at specific times based off of the construction model, right?
Yes. So what we typically do is we typically will estimate the job, right? And so for the metrics that we're using for South Africa is $2.50 per square foot for lighting solutions. Okay. So then that allows us to that's how we priced out $375 million for the current city.
Okay, so when you guys are building an estimate, there's going to be product that's associated with square footage, and that square footage is going to change the pricing. So in other words, if I've got solar panel, let's just say, and you go in and change the metrics on that solar panel to, let's just say, 2,000 square feet, it will automatically read what the per square foot is and put that into the estimate in its total, correct?
Correct.
All right, so in other words, I go into the system, I'm talking to a company, I want to take the project, it's a solar company, and based off of several different potential products that are in there, maybe even different types of solar itself, there's going to be a certain square foot associated with each of the products at a certain price. And so I pick the product, and then I add in the square footage, and it will automatically estimate the total price. And then basically I build an estimate, which will become a purchase order once it's done. So going through it, I take it, I put in the total square foot. It builds the estimate at the total amount that it would be. I can add multiple product to that estimate, and then I can send the estimate, and then so it's sitting in the system as an actual estimate, and there's a part of it that can be sent. So I've got it. I can send it. They look at it. At that point, are we wanting to do some kind of an approval, or would that just go straight to purchase?
I think it's best to get the client to approve.
Okay, so in other words, the estimate hits the client. They look through it. Maybe they go back and forth. There needs to be control metrics on there, where there's parameters where they can change the price of the square footage only if they have permission. So we'll talk about sales teams here in just a minute, everybody. But so basically, what it comes down to is each permission level will probably have some form of calculation that they can make in order to make, let's say, the solar panel go from let's just as an estimate, $100 to $90, and then the estimate would change based off of the discount. But not everybody would have permissions for that. That needs to be set by permission groups. So when we're actually building the groups of sales organizations, and they have to have parameters. In other words, this sales organization has the opportunity to discount this up to 10%. And so we'll have that per sales organization. There needs to be a way for them to send that to admin in case there's potentially a higher discount that can be made as a request, so that if they don't have that within their parameters to give us a discount, it's just part of the sale, then an admin can override that and change that discount to something less expensive. Only the admin can, and then that would go back into the estimate, and that might take it down to $80. But that would be how that part of that system would work. And then the estimate's built, meaning that it's either one product or several products based on square feet. That gets put into the estimate in a total. So it's basically what it is it's an invoice or a purchase order that has no signature or payment requirements. That gets sent over to the potential client. They approve it, and once that gets approved, it comes back. And I would imagine at that point, both admin and the sales individual, or even the sales team, gets indicated that there's been an estimate that's been approved, and they go in and then they click another button, they turn it into a purchase order. So once that purchase order gets built, it's a master purchase order, and that master purchase order gets broken down into delivery. So how much of that purchase order is going to be delivered, and so that becomes individual purchase orders. And the master purchase order has to have a digital signature, and then the individual purchase orders that's built off of the master, as they actually distribute it over time, would also be digitally signed, which just means that yes, I know I'm receiving 20% of it at this point on this purchase order, and I'm digitally signing to agree to receive it. And then within there needs to be some way for someone to go in and indicate that the client has actually sent the check or has paid the ACH, so that's been satisfied. And there should be an email that goes out to the admin and an email that goes out even to the salesperson. I would say probably like every couple days until that's actually satisfied, so that they kind of keep their mind on the fact that they've got a purchase order out that they need to get paid.
Yep.
Yep. So that would be how that part of the system would work primarily. And then guys, this is a combination of adding hard cost products. So in other words, there may be product that's not based on square feet. It might just be 7,000 lights from this category, this product, and so that would just be an actual hard number on that product that gets added to the actual purchase order. And then the other style of product would be things that are based on square feet. So you'd have both types of product that would be added to it.
Yep, that's correct. And then the general payment terms we already know in the contract is 50% down at signing of the invoice, at customer approval of the invoice. They pay 50%, and then 50% at delivery of the product, they pay the balance. So we have those parameters already agreed to in the contract that's signed.
Okay, so in other words, on the purchase order, there's two levels of satisfaction. Actually, you know what it is I would just say we enter in total purchase order, and then and again, we're talking master and purchase. So guys, there's a master purchase order that's got a very large ask on it, and then there's individual purchase orders off of the master that will show deliveries over time. And then when they go back to the legend on the master purchase order, it needs to show how much of that's already been delivered and paid for, so that they've got a legend. So if it comes out as $1 million, let's just say, and they get their first purchase order in and paid, it might take it down to $800,000 because they got the first one delivered. So we'll just make it, Jerrid, to where they can actually go in and put in the total price. And then as if it's 50% down, that's just in the terms, right? So all they would do is they'd go in and say, okay, I received $100,000, and they just go enter that dollar amount in on that purchase order, and it shows what's left to be paid. And then guys, there needs to be a date set for the second payment. So in other words, there's going to be a down payment, and then we can just put a date parameter of next payment and how much it is. So in there, they need to say they've agreed to make their next payment in 30 days from the time that the purchase order was from the time that the delivery was made. So we'll get into the delivery in just a second. So from the time that the delivery was made, and then and then a time frame of when they're going to pay the next one, like whether that's 30 days or 15 days. They just need to be able to set that parameter and how much that next payment is. And each purchase order needs to have multiples. So for whatever reason, they're going to do it in 4 payments, 5 payments, whatever it is. They just got to be able to, in each purchase order, actually put the payment variables in there so that they know that they're going to be getting $20,000 and then $50,000, whatever it is, to pay that purchase order down. So that's how that would work. And then of course this is going to be per major client. So guys, permission wise in the system, we have clients, okay, and these clients are going to be in a number of different ways. First of all, there's going to be clients that are deeply involved in this purchase order process. So they'll have many different master purchase orders, and they'll be paying off many of these based off of the actual, we'll call them sub purchase orders off of the master. So they'll be paying those down, and then also we have people that are just coming to the website, going through categories, picking out product by square foot, picking out product by total. In different categories, and just literally making a purchase direct. So, right, I mean, I am right there, aren't I?
You are correct.
Okay, and then let's talk about sales groups. So we've got distributor sales groups. These are going to be like really large locations like Lowe's, Home Depot. They're going to have in every single one of these accounts, guys, they're not all the same, but we do want to have kind of a master pricing list for each category that can be manipulated per participant. So let's say that Lowe's is buying everything at 20% off or whatever it might be, but that Lowe's also might get specific discounting per product because they may really only be ordering 8 or 9 of the major products that these guys have. And so we need to be able to have a master on the distributor side, and then be able to change that master per product on the orders that they're making. And each one of them could be different. So every time we put in like Lowe's and then we put in Home Depot, they may be very different as to the pricing that's actually being offered in the back office. So someone in the admin side needs to be able to go in, look at the different pricing and change it. And then also, obviously, to be able to change it based off of a master purchase order. So think about it this way: we've got product in the back office that's based on square feet and based off of total, and then basically we can either give them a master discount based off of them being a distributor on everything, or just on specific products, and then we can also create a master purchase order. In case Lowe's comes to us and says, look, I know you guys are giving me this general discount, but this time we want to buy a lot. And so we'll just take that from their master account that they have for making purchases direct, and we'll actually create a master purchase order on that one time we're speaking with them in order to facilitate that major discount. So they can come in at whatever we set as a distributor and actually buy that product at the pricing that has been agreed to with them as a distributor. But if they come in and they want a special deal and they want to actually, they want to buy 10 times more than they normally would for whatever reason, then we can just start a master purchase order at that point, change the pricing, and then just actually take them through the purchase order flow that way, so that at least on that one-time purchase, we've got a separate deal that we did, and it's recorded separately from their master distributor setup. That would be right?
Yep. That is correct.
Yeah, that would give the flexibility that's needed. And then second type of users are going to be actual company distribution centers that aren't like Lowe's or Home Depot, but they're kind of like actual businesses that'll be in different countries. And it's the same model, meaning that they have the back end, they can come in, make the orders, but these guys are going to have a front-end website. These guys will have a designed front-end website, and it will be a separate we'll call it a white label of the master system. And so they will have access to the shopping center. There'll be their logos. All the master purchase orders will have their logos on it. And so it's a full top-down white label of the entire system from that direct distributor that would be in a country. And we'll call those businesses for now, just to keep it separate from like the Lowe's. So it's the businesses that actually have a business account with us would actually have the ability to have a full white label top to bottom in a certain country, selling all the same product with all the same metrics and all the same process flow. It's just everything would be labeled, and all of the information would be their logos, their company. That is correct, yeah?
That is correct.
Okay, so and so think about that as like full cart systems, front to back, but they're labeled as the actual company that has it, right? So they're the businesses, and then in the back office, access to accounts for we're gonna have enterprise accounts, and then we're gonna have regular purchasing accounts and distributor accounts. So enterprise accounts are going to be like large construction companies. Their back office is probably going to operate almost specifically off of purchase orders. Then we've got the distributors. That's going to be like Lowe's, and then we've got regular purchasers, people that just come to the site. Maybe they're smaller construction companies that are coming to do a one-time purchase, and so those would just be considered regular customers. They'd come in and make larger purchases. Now those we need to be able to immediately in the back office change from a regular customer to an enterprise client. So if it's a construction company, they come in, they make a one-time purchase of X square feet of solar, and then Jerrid calls them or somebody calls them and says, hey, we can get you into an enterprise account. Then we need to be able to switch the account type for each of the people in the back office, but the history of all of their purchases need to be properly set. So in other words, if I'm a customer and I come in and make a major purchase of solar, and then I get contacted and I get changed to an enterprise account, it needs to show all of my purchases as a regular customer and when I was actually turned into an enterprise account, so it's got a proper legend. So there's that, and then on the front, we've got different organizations that are going to be getting commissions. And those commissions need to have a master commission sheet based off of everything, so all the product, what the regular commission is, and then that needs to be broken down by sales team. And then once they break it down by sales team, it's similar to a degree to the master purchase order or to the distributor discounting, to where we can go in and actually set commissions on each of the different sales teams per product. So basically, if we get a major sales team come in, then we need to be able to do that. And how deep do we want to go on that? Is that going to be sales company to sales managers to salesmen, or like at 3 tiers, or does it need to go deeper than that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be at let me count the tiers, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4 tiers, at least. So if we build in functionality for a few more tiers, that would be great, because it ultimately gets down to the sales person level. Okay, so now this is just me telling you this. If we got 4 tiers, then they need to be a fully qualified business. Okay. Meaning that they're a sales company and they're set up that way, like an IMO is, right? Like an insurance company, they have many different tiers there. Because if we just do that in an open enrollment, okay, guys, I'll explain this in a minute. But in an open enrollment, then if we go past 2 tiers in some states and 3 tiers in others, we're MLM. Okay, so let's be within state compliance, because we could always pay out the business and have them do the tiers, which would not make this an MLM.
Right. So guys, open enrollment of just say regular sales guys that bring in other regular sales guys, that's 3 levels. But if they have a business sales account, which means they're actually a sales company, then we can offer up to I'd say even up to 5 tiers, and all we're really doing is we're just helping them keep records, as far as that's concerned. But they would have to actually be a group, and in that case, just so you understand it, Jerrid, they would actually be employed, right? So if you've got a sales company that employs their salespeople on salary, then they can go as deep as they want, right? You can have managers of
Okay.
managers of sales groups, but if they're individuals, and let's say it's Bobby. We'll use Bobby as an example in Las Vegas. If I'm a sales guy and I go to Bobby and I say, hey, dude, I can put you in underneath me, well, then he goes in underneath me and he's a separate contractor from me. We can only go 3 deep on those.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. So
No,
we'll
that's
have
fine.
2. So guys, there's companies that are set up, and Jerrid, that'll just be you writing the policy to where the company agrees that everyone that works for them, that 4 or 5 tiers down, are employed. And then we've got the individual sales groups, guys, that can go 3 deep, and those can just be guys recruiting guys, right? Those will be all contractors that are all 1099. Now, of course, we don't pay payroll, you guys. I don't want you to get confused there. The employees we're talking about of the other companies, they work for that company. We'll just pay that company. We're just helping them keep records. That's all we're doing.
Correct.
We're going to do one lump sum to the company because they're really the only contractor. I got to not use that word. They're the only sales group that we're paying because they have their own employees, and we're just helping them keep records. That's all we're doing there. But if it's a contractor to contractor or a 1099, say myself, to someone I bring in, then that can only go 3 deep. So we need to have 2 models set up on the front.
Yep, that's correct.
Right, and then the businesses themselves, going back to the businesses again to remind you guys of what that is the businesses are individual brands, the white labels that actually have the full cart system and are selling it and actually have all their logos on everything. Those guys will have their own revenue share in the sale as well. So they're, to a degree, they're like salespeople. Okay, so in other words, each one of those is going to have their own amount of money that they're going to make off of each of the sales of the products, and then they, of course, can have any of the salespeople come in at their dimension and sell into that brand as well. But they're kind of like a master sales group to a degree, but really they're a white label brand. So that's all correct, isn't it?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, and then now let's go all the way to the back office and customer support. So every one of the white labels that will be in this, and all of the sales that happen in the entire system will all be managed by one admin group, as well as and when I say that, each of the white labels is going to have master admin as well of everything happening in their system. They won't see anything other than what's going through their white label, though. So when they log into their back office, you want to look at them as admins, but really admins of their sleeve. So only the master admins, which would be like Jerrid and his group, will see everything. And then what needs to happen is we're going to need to connect this to probably Five9 on the call center side, because every single one of the white labels that are on the front end of this thing are going to have the same customer support program. So what'll happen is it'll pop up, someone calls in, and this is how Five9 works, guys. So just, you don't have to understand this completely, because that'll be an integration. But what'll happen is it'll pop up the customer. It'll show in the customer exactly which company they're associated with. So if it's white label X in South Africa, it'll pop open the account for the customer, and it'll show all of the information for the white label, so the customer support can answer the phone correctly. They need to answer the phone for the right brand when a customer's calling in. And then there's going to be limited access to the accounts based off of customer service. We can figure that out later, because all that is going to be, guys, is permissions. What can they do? Can they make a discount? Can they do a refund? Right? Certain things are going to have to be an override, meaning that someone calls up and says they want all their money back. Well, that's going to have to be sent over to an admin for review, because there's no way someone at the customer service level can handle it. Most of that kind of stuff is, where's my product? Right? It hasn't showed up yet. And so there'll be limited access to the accounts and limited variables that these customer service reps are going to be able to take action on. So me and Jerrid will get together and kind of go through a full discussion, and once we really figure out all the metrics of what will be available, of what the customer service people can actually access and take action on. But just realize what it really comes down to is when a customer account comes up, they need to be able to do everything like discounts. They need to be able to do everything like potentially doing a refund. And refunds are going to be in two ways. So if they come in and they actually make a purchase with a credit card, let's say it's a smaller purchase, the system needs to be able to actually refund that money direct. But if it's a purchase order and there's an ACH, it needs to indicate in there, this will be at the admin level. No one in the customer service will do this, but I just want to make sure this is clear. They'll go in and they'll select the product that's either being returned, so it needs to have a setup to where it's being returned, or a discount, whatever it might be there. And the admin will then, just like in the purchase order process, the admin will go in and set that as a refund, whatever it is. But then that money has to come back. And so being that we're processing potentially ACH or they're paying by check, it needs to sit there as an indication that it's in process. And then let's just say that we receive the money back, or they receive the money from us, actually is what I meant. In other words, we're giving them their money back. So as soon as that money gets sent, then an admin comes in and says, sent the return and the dollar amount. So that's important too. So that's almost like a reverse purchase order, guys, where someone just didn't want the product, they were sent too much product, it was done wrong. The metrics need to be able to work both directions, but only at the admin level. So, how you feeling about that?
No, I think you've got a very good handle on the nuances of the systems that are needed. So so far everything is all good.
So on the front, so let's go all the way out to the front, guys. So out on the front, when someone comes to the website, okay, we're going to have design. Obviously, there's always information about the company, just like we do with anything. And then there's going to be an opportunity for them to search through product by category, and then to be able to look at that product, add it to a cart. All of this stuff's pretty normal. And then what we need to do is we need to have indication in there of each of the product in the front end that shows whether it's actually purchasable directly on the site or if it's processed by purchase order. And we also need to set parameters. In other words, if they're in there spending $5,000, that's okay to put on a credit card, okay? But if that purchase order, or if that purchase of everything they're selecting ends up being $25,000, then that needs to automatically change to a purchase order. Now that also needs to be a control by admin, right? So if someone comes in and their order goes over X dollars, it needs to immediately let them know that this is going to move to the purchase order process. And I'm telling you, Jerry, you probably already know this, but you just don't run credit cards for more than $5,000. Even if you decide to actually take a purchase order for $30,000 on a credit card, I'd still talk to them first.
Yep.
So in other words, the certain dollar amount you guys will be purchasable right on the site, but based off of what the admin sets, if they end up putting something in there for $80,000 or whatever the parameters are, it needs to immediately indicate to them that it's going to go to an estimate, and that they will hear back from a salesman immediately within 48 hours. We could say there 48-hour business days in order to complete their order. Yep. That way you've got smaller accounts, guys that are just building houses and shit like that. They can make smaller purchases if they're just looking for a couple things. But anything that grows over a certain size, and guys, for the most part, a lot of these people will already either have an enterprise accounts or a distributor account in the back office, so they'll just log in and do most of this through purchase order anyways. But this is more catching the guys on the front end that are coming in and making purchases that are getting really large and needing to move into the second kind of process as opposed to just completing their purchase on the site. Anything else?
You said the communication system might be integrated with the PBX system. I'm just capturing the recording of all the transactions, so we have them as a part of the CRM in the record file for all the approvals.
Right. Yeah. That'll all be in the actual ledger part of the system. So absolutely. So it won't be doing full accounting. I mean, these guys will still need to download their stuff into something like QuickBooks or whatever. But it'll have all of the actual receivable accounting all documented properly.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So no, that is that's good. That's good. And then I'm trying to think what else is needed. So for things like product catalogs, product spec sheets, all that stuff will be populated on the master account. So basically, there's a central warehousing of marketing material that's then pushed out. The nuance there is all that's got to get white labeled to ultimately end up in the regional businesses, so to speak. On the Lowe's and the Home Depot side, they might be separate SKUs. So it might be a similar product, but they probably will each have their own SKUs based on the distributor, whether it's Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, and so on and so forth. So they'll all end up in the system.
So let me verify what you're saying. So you're saying that I've got, let's just say, a light bulb, and in the system for Lowe's, that SKU may be different than in the system, let's say, for the sales guys that are selling as compared to the system that Home Depot is using. Is that correct?
Yeah, what will happen is you might end up with Lowe's selling the Lowe's agreement. They may end up selling product, and they may end up wanting an exclusive on these products. So only those products will be sold at Lowe's, and there'll be a separate grouping or type of product sold at Home Depot.
Okay, so what he's saying here, guys, is there may be a product entered into the system that is very specific to a distributor or a business, meaning that every product needs to be open to everyone unless it's been specialized. And if that happens, then that product will become a product of the back office purchase that Lowe's would make at a specific price, and only they would distribute that product directly in some kind of an exclusivity. So we'd enter the product, we'd put it in there as the distributor that basically owns this product would be Lowe's, but we want to make it to where we can vary that exclusivity. Let's say that only Lowe's and our sales groups can sell it, or only Lowe's and Home Depot as two distributor back offices can sell it. So each of the actual product need to be visible in this fashion. First of all, to the front, it's everybody buying product. So that's just the regular web visitors. So it needs to have an indication whether it's available there, and then it needs to have an indication of whether or not it's specific to a distributor. And if it is, then only that distributor can see that product and buy that product in the back office when they come in.
Correct. Right. Because that exclusivity may be by distributor. Oftentimes in their legal agreements, they'll put product periods, but each one of them will have there'll be a SKU relevant to that distributor. So that's how we can identify what it is. But you are correct, Peter. You're correct.
Okay. Yeah, so what he's saying there is, let's say that it's a certain product, and that product is a SKU is a product identifier, guys. So each of the products we need to be able to enter in an identifier and multiple identifiers, and we may tag one particular identifier just to one distributor.
Correct.
Okay. And then just so we kind of have an idea of the size of the system, how many products are there?
There are LED lighting, all of the commercial grades and residential grades. So think all your traditional light bulbs on the fluorescent side, but then all of your LED light bulbs, but then also all of your LED technology with smart technology embedded in it. For instance, they have products where we can include, there's probably 15 to 20 optional sensors that can be customized into any light fixture. So you can have both traditional fluorescent lights, LED lights, but then you can have lights with carbon monoxide sensors, Wi-Fi, gun metal detection sensors. So there's about 15 to 20 different sensor options, seismic activity, humidity, mold detection that can be built into the light fixtures. So each one of them will in effect be a separate product, because the combinations of sensors, you can have one or multiple sensors in a specific product depending on the request from the customer.
Okay, so tell me if I'm right when I explain this. So I've got a light fixture, and would I pick my light fixture and then it would pop up the actual products that fit that light fixture as the additions to it?
Yes, the optional sensors would pop up, and they can click, I want Wi-Fi, carbon monoxide, humidity, mold, seismic activity, and then basically all those sensor components would be added to the cost of that light fixture.
Okay, so basically, guys, this is what this means. In our back office, there needs to be a product that may or may not have a price. Okay, so in other words, maybe they already have the light fixture and they're just looking for light bulbs. So they pick it, and then there needs to be an option of, I already have this, I just need the components. And so they would pick that product, and then there would be several products associated with that product. So if I pick the light fixture, then everything that's related to that light fixture would show up as far as what could be added to it. And then as far as total addition, meaning that light fixture can only take a certain amount of bulbs, right? Let's just say it's one light fixture can take 7 bulbs, right? So it would limit based off of the actual product ID how many they could actually add to it. Although they could buy as many as they want, but it would indicate, you would want to add this number of this type of product to this light fixture, and so then they can add that to the actual cart, and it would show that that light fixture was complete, right? So it had everything that it needed from the choices that they made. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so guys, everything's one to many. Okay, so one product may have many products associated, and in that many products, it may have a total number of products in order to complete that product that they would pick from, and they may also have multiple associations. So in other words, a one light fixture might have 7 bulbs and 3 light sensors. So in other words, there'd be one product that has 7 of this component, they pick the bulbs, and then 3 of this component. They would pick the light sensors, and so it's many to one on multiples. So this product could have a pick or association of these 7 product, and then it could also have an association of these 3 product, and you just want to have that as multiples as possible. So if I pick a master product, and they're not master products, it's just one to many, guys. I pick one product, okay, I can indicate whether I already have it or not, so that would make the price 0. Okay, if I don't have it, I need to buy it, then it would be the price of the product, and then I need to either grab replacements for it, or I need to get a total the total setup. So again, that would be like a fixture that had 7 bulbs. I'd have to pick my 7 bulbs, and then it may have 3 light sensors. I'd get my 3 light sensors, and there needs to be an indication that if they didn't order enough, that they are agreeing that they didn't have to get them all. So in other words, it says this light fixture usually takes 7 bulbs and 3 light sensors. Are you sure you want to check out with 4 and 2? And because they might have some already, they just need to say yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And for instance, they offer a solar street light with embedded closed caption TV with audio and various sensors. So, so the all-in on the solar street site, which they have to do for this entire city, there's options on a single head Cobra, a double head Cobra, and then the various sensor options embedded within the solar light fixture solution. So to give you an idea, so it's interior and exterior light solution and solar.
And then, so guys, what we need to do as well, besides having it be, let's say, the one to many, is it also needs to be purchasable by simply a completed package. So in the back office, what they need to be able to do is say this light fixture plus these Cobra lights plus these light sensors is X dollars as a total package. So that way we don't have them in there just freaking buying these and having to pick and pack the entire time, when really they do just coming in to buy 5 of the total packages. So the products would work in 2 different ways. It would be the light fixture and the 7 bulbs, the 3 sensors, and they can pick how many they need of each. Or it could be the light fixture plus the Cobra lighting, or the light fixture plus the regular lighting. So whatever it is, it would just be all 7 that would go into it already, just set up as a package. So when they go to the actual product page, they'd say buy complete package, and there'd be selections of the complete packages and everything that came in them. Or they could say, pick this light fixture, and then they can just buy separate components. And then in that case, really what they're doing is they're replacing stuff at that point. Okay. Alrighty. Anything else?
No, I think this is we're off to a good start. Unless I'm missing something. But I think you've got a good handle on the complexities and the nuance of the smart LED lighting solutions.
Okay. So one second.